we're not worried about the next commission. We're worried about making you a client for the rest of your life. Hello, I'm Doug Rogers. It's August 24th.
I'm Russell Rogers. We're the Rogers team with Keller Southlake. Let's talk DFW real estate. Doug, what are you seeing out there?
And we've got some information for you that's going to be fun. We're going to kind of take a lighthearted view of some of the things today, but it's going to be fun for the most part. But let's first talk about the direction of the market. Picture yourself driving down the freeway, 55, 60 miles an hour, everything's fine. Then all of a sudden you start seeing up in front of you some lights starting to come on, and the cars are starting to get closer and closer together. For some reason, that's what the listing inventory just started doing this past week. In the North Texas Real Estate Information System, that's the big metro MLS. It covers a big, wide area. We added 173 listings over last week. So last week we had 2785 new listings. This week we had 2958 new listings. That's up 173 in new listings for the whole Metro Tex system. That is the opposite of what should be happening. That number should be smaller going into the end of August and back to school. The number should be smaller. So right now we're kind of stacking things up. Houses that came back on the market. We had 643 houses come back on the market. That means somehow the negotiations failed during the option period or the inspection period. That number is up 321 over the week before. Price reductions. We had 3,588 price reductions. That's up 226 over the week before. That kind of makes sense, but that's kind of a scary number. The whole marketplace as a grand scheme of things is starting to kind of stagnate a little bit, and because of that the listings are starting to grow again. Now that could be a good thing in the long run. By having more listings we might normalize our market completely, but the next topic of discussion is the interest rates. Over the last 5 days the market was trending down. It looked like the market was finally going to start going a little softer on the interest rates, and they were trying to tick down just a little bit. Then the last 2 days, they spiked right back up. They're actually right now at the highest point in over 20 years. It's at 7.3 something on the national average. So we went the wrong direction as of today, August 24th. And finally, I looked at the closings in comparison to pre-COVID for this week. If you go back in time and just look at closings in our what we call our major markets, Grapevine, Colleyville, Southlake, Keller, we're down about 40% closings for this week pre-COVID. To kind of put things in perspective, we should be having around 60 closings. Instead, we're having 35. Flower Mound, Capel, Highland Village is even scarier in a sense that in the whole city of Flower Mound, the total number of listings in the whole city of Flower Mound is 156. And if you take out the new construction listings in there, because of Canyon falls into that group, they have 113 listings in the entire city of Flower Mound. That number should be double. There should be always at least 180 to 220 listings in Flower Mound. Frisco, Plano, total listings there, 682. If you were pre-COVID, completely different story. And if you look at the number of closings this week compared to pre-COVID in Frisco, Plano, they're down 50% in number of closings. So it creates an interesting dilemma, which is going to lead into our topic for this week. You know you have the wrong realtor when there's 50% fewer closings, there's 50% fewer paychecks out there for realtors. As an anecdote from my office, I work for Keller Williams of Southlake, and at about pre-COVID, we were probably pushing 760 agents in that office, one of the largest offices in the country. And now we're below 600. We're 580 something. So the number of agents is smaller, and it's shrinking, and there's 50% fewer paychecks than there was pre-COVID. So Russell, how many people are not getting paid, and how do you know when you don't have the right realtor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you got to be really careful in picking a realtor, and the fact that people use, just acquaintances or maybe family members for the biggest asset purchase of their life is often, I think, an unwise decision. But we have some examples here of how to know when your realtor might be the wrong one for you. So I'll go ahead and kick it off. You might have the wrong realtor if their TikTok dances are better than their market analysis.
I saw one where you probably have the wrong realtor if you can spot a crack in their flip phone.
Can you hear me now? Good.
You might have the wrong realtor if they ask you to drive because their license has been revoked.
You've got the wrong realtor if they pull up and they have a Uber passenger in the back seat waiting for the showing to end.
You might have the wrong realtor if they can't pronounce the word realtor and call it realtor.
The rest of us pronounce it realtors.
Yeah, it's realtors.
That's what she said. Realtors. Wait, I heard the difference.
You probably have the wrong realtor if they have to wait till their shift at Buc-ee's is over.
All right, there it is. Busey's.
But seriously, let's really boil it down to what the real decision is in determining why you have the wrong realtor. And it's one word, it's time. Does your realtor have time to do what you need them to do? And let me give you the first example. Do they have time to sit down and go over a complete market analysis on the home you're purchasing? They need to take you to an office or to a setting where there's a computer screen that has pictures of every single comparable sale. So if you're buying a house that doesn't have granite, but all the other houses have granite and have wood floors and have other amenities that this house doesn't have, they need to show you how comparable the houses are. You know you have the wrong realtor when they says, well, they sell for $180 a foot. Let's multiply times $180. That's what you offer. No, that's not how it goes. They need to take time and help you find the right house and dig deep into the market analysis with the right age of homes, the right size of homes, the right location of homes, and that homes have sold very, very recently, not 2 years ago, not 12 months ago, not 6 months ago, in the last 2 or 3 months. So Russell, what do you think?
Yeah, and along with time, you might have the wrong realtor if they aren't patient. So clients need to be seeing several houses, kind of as many as is appropriate to have a good understanding of the market. And like Doug just said, not just the market, oh yeah, I know about Flower Mound, or I know about Plano, or I know about Fort Worth, but really the housing market and what their house looks like in comparison to others in that same area, market, neighborhood, and how those prices should all kind of line up. I often tell people that the real estate market is not rational. You can actually find deals, or you can actually overpay with bad realtors and bad advice. This isn't like the stock market, which I think is not rational either. That's a story for another time. But there aren't a lot of bids coming in both directions. And so the price discovery is not the same as other assets. And so it is an irrational market, and you need to really look at it that way. And if you're making a purchase for your home, it's important to know that information and to have good advice, so you don't overpay essentially, or if you don't sell for under the amount it's worth. And going along that same thing, I had a lot of patients a few years ago, and this couple that was new to the area kind of had their first professional jobs. It was their first time buying a home, and I showed them 60 houses. And it was pre-COVID, so that was much easier to do. And we went for a long period of time. They had some time frames where they couldn't look, and that's why it kind of extended it. But I would have showed them 60 more because they were savvy buyers. They weren't being picky. They were just looking for the right home for them. And I think it was smart, and I was happy to do it. And there are a lot of realtors. I even hear people talk about it sometimes, whether social media or over here, people in coffee shops or whatever, talking about, oh man, I had to show 20 houses this weekend. I can't believe it. And these people won't make a decision. It's like, wow, I can't believe that's someone's realtor, because I would never say those things.
Well, that leads up to another concept. They're desperate. If you really boil it down to a successful realtor versus a desperate realtor, it's going to put money in your pocket. I'll tell you a story from 2010. I met this couple at an open house. They had a realtor. The realtor wrote an offer, called me up, told me about the offer, and I could tell that there was desperation in their voice. And all of a sudden, the light bulb went off in my head. So I'm going to look this person up and look up their production. They had sold 5 houses in the last 24 months, and they were desperate to make a sale. They were representing the other party, so I didn't care. I represented the seller, and I wanted the seller to get the highest and best value. So I told the seller, I said, I don't care what you hear from them or what their offer is. We're going to hold out, and we're going to get full price. And she said, 2010, nobody gets full price. I said, yeah, we're going to get full price because this realtor is the best friend of the buyer, and this realtor is desperate. She's going to make them pay full price. And sure enough, they paid full price. So it's always been a policy of mine. Now, when I don't know who I'm dealing with, I'll look up their production through what we call the local MLS and find out how many houses they've sold. How desperate are they? And if they're desperate, we blend that into the marketing of our negotiation process. But let me give you one other thing to consider. If your realtor is desperate and they're short of cash, they haven't sold a house in a while, and it's time to list your home, are they going to pay for top-of-the-line virtual tours, for videos. They're going to have the 3D imaging done, or are they going to say, well, this iPhone's really good? Ask them. Ask them when they list the home, before they list them. So tell me about your marketing plan. What are you going to spend in preparing my house? Are they going to take the shortcuts in regard to staging? Every house needs to be staged. Every house needs a virtual tour. And are they going to have the tough conversations? Russell, you've probably had some tough conversations in your day.
Yeah, and I think that's the next point is you might have the wrong realtor if they're not honest. And that doesn't always mean someone's trying to trick you. It can be someone having a tough conversation, right? Withholding information that is advantageous to a client, even if it's at your detriment for a commission or for them closing on the deal, that's still being dishonest. You didn't tell a lie, but you didn't tell the truth and you didn't tell the information. And so, there's a few components here I want to talk about. One is, not being honest in the absence of information, like in that example. But in the realtors that will say now is a great time to buy or now is a great time to sell, without having a full discussion with a client about their particulars, you don't know if it's the right time to buy or sell for them. So how would you even know that? And let's be honest, a lot of realtors don't follow macroeconomic news. So I don't think they really know. And I think I can bet that what a lot of them mean is it's a great time for you to buy so I can get a commission. It's a great time for you to sell so I can get a commission. And I just think that's wrong. And to take it to another analogy is, have you ever seen those commercials on TV? Now is a great time to buy gold. Here's the gold. It's great. Buy it. It only goes up in value. Well, if it's such a great value, why are they selling it, right? And so it's kind of similar here. If things are so great, why aren't they doing X, Y, and Z? And so I like to have the ability, and I do this, to have those tough conversations when it's not advantageous for myself, but it's advantageous for the client. And one example of that is we had another couple that they were searching through 2001 to 2022, as we know, is the hardest real estate market for buyers, I think, historically ever. I don't think anyone would argue that. We finally get under contract after 9 or 10 attempts. We get first place, we're under contract, run the option period. But I told them before we wrote the offer, I think this house has a foundation problem. There's cracks here. I showed them several things since I'm kind of well versed in this subject. And sure enough, the foundation company came out there, said, yes, here's a problem. Due to the location, fixing it might cause a plumbing issue, which was kind of in the kitchen pantry area, which would have cost quite a bit more. And even with seller concessions and the foundation company saying it's a risk, but we're not really sure, I had a very long conversation, about 90 minutes with that couple, to talk with them through the process of what they wanted to do. And when they said, I think it's too big of a risk, I said, I completely understand. Let's cancel this and let's keep looking. And I think a lot of realtors would go the other way and try to convince them otherwise.
Well, I've got one more thing to throw in, and this is real simple and it's real basic. See this lockbox? This is what we call the Supra iBox. It's got a little infrared dot right there, and the only person who can open that box is a licensed realtor who has an iPhone or a smartphone with the data from the local MLS. They're dues paying, they're legit, and they're supposed to be there. And if they're not supposed to be there and anyone opens this box without permission, it records who's been there. Now, you've got the wrong agent when they say, well, I've got a combination lockbox I bought at Home Depot. Well, everybody in town's got that combination. Everybody who's used that box before has got that combination. The painter, the housekeeper, the guy who remodeled the bathroom, everybody's got that combination, and they're putting it on your front door. And if they can't spend $100, I think they're actually $75 to $100 to get one of these, then they're not a real realtor. They're part-time. They probably are waiting for their shift at Buc-ee's
Busey's
to be over to go put it on your house because they really don't have any other options. If they don't use this, you probably need a different realtor. Now, the next little topic that you can watch for, if they say, well, I'll be setting the appointments for you, that's a clear sign you've got the wrong realtor, because you either need to be using Broker Bay or Showing Time. Both of those are paid for by the brokers. They're open 24 hours, and professional agents can make appointments online through the system. You're confirmed through a text or a call, and they're coming. And if they're not paying Broker Bay or Showing Time, which is a very nominal fee, to set the appointments, then you've got the wrong broker. Because what if your broker is on the golf course, or they're on vacation, or they're in church, or it's inconvenient for them to take a call? you might miss a showing. Every showing could be the one that gets you full price. So they're not using this lockbox. They're not using Showing Time or Broker Bay. You've got a part-time agent, and you don't need that.
Another thing on the lockbox combinations, those print off on the agent printout in MLS. And so Nori knows this. If I have those in the house, those go in the shredder box. But how many agents are careful enough to put their printouts in the shredder box to make sure that lockbox combination doesn't fall out of their car, get thrown in the trash, somebody finds it, and just anyone could have access to your house?
Well, the difference also is I can call up and say, hey, I'm Joe Broker. Give me that combo. And they get the combo, and now you've got 10 kids partying in your house this weekend. And if it's a vacant property, it's even worse. They'll just call up and say, hey, I'm Joe from Remax. Can you give me that combo? And the combo is 1, 2, 3, 4. And unfortunately, most of the combos are 1, 2, 3, 4. And somebody's in your house. And if they don't take the time to protect your possessions and your family, then they're not your realtor.
Yeah, I think we could go on and on about this topic, but maybe we'll save it for another time.
Another story. But the bottom line is, if you hire the Rogers team, you're hiring people who care about you. We're financially set, so we're not worried about the next commission. We're worried about making you a client for the rest of your life. We want to get your business. We want your family's business. We want your coworkers' business. And the only way we're going to obtain that is by doing an impeccable job. And that's what we'll do. Well, Russell, that's all I've got.
That sounds good. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
All right. See you next week.